Hey, Tom, it's great to see you. Welcome to our mini Aceable Agent podcast. Tom's been a longtime supporter of Aceable, both investor and advisor. Tom, best real estate coach in the game, and his company of real estate coaches. So Tom needs very little introduction, but Tom, I'll let you throw it to you real quick. Introduce yourself, and then I'll get to it.
Well, thank you, Blake, and thank you for all you guys do. I was actually talking about you this morning, talking about Aceable specifically. My son, my older son, is getting his real estate license, doing it proudly on your app. So thank you very much for that. If we've never connected before, I'm 33 years in the industry, call it 3 decades. My father pioneered real estate coaching, my goodness, almost 40 years ago. And my wife and I, we left and started a business 21 years ago, really with a vision to always be ahead of the curve. Like that's really the thing that I get the most excited about. Blake, you've heard me talk about many of my mentors, one in particular, Jay Abraham, who said every 18 months, you have to do something new. You have to go into a new market. You have to launch a new product. You have to bring something new and exciting for your customers if you want to maintain relevancy. And boy, oh boy, do real estate professionals want and need to create relevancy right now in this market. So, for the last 2 decades, my wife and I and about 400 people inside our company have really strived to do that. Not new for the sake of new, but new for bringing more joy or passion or fun or excitement or learning something new, like AI is an example for agents, but ultimately always putting the customer at the center of everything. And how do I do more new for them, which creates differentiation and degrees of separation, like why choose me versus somebody else. So that's really that's our story. I've done about 70,000 hours of private coaching sessions. So some call me the Dr. Phil of real estate. How about that?
I love it. I love it, Tom. And as I haven't connected with many of you, I'm Blake, founder and CEO of Aceable. All right, so let's get into it. The NAR settlement. I have to imagine this is taking up more hours of your life than you anticipated.
Yes.
So a lot of Aceable's customers are looking to start their real estate career, evaluating real estate as an opportunity, switching maybe from a previous career. What advice would you give them as they are assessing from the outside and this change in the industry as they consider launching a career in real estate?
So I got 2 thoughts. One is don't. If you're just getting in to sell a house. If this is a true career path, then one could argue, and I certainly could, Blake, that this is one of the single greatest times to enter this industry. I'll give you an example. 2023, which was a pretty challenging year, coming off the sort of flurry of success that everybody had in 2021 in the first half of 2022. But in 2023, when interest rates went up to 8, when cost of money to get a mortgage just seemed out of reach for people, more and more home sellers didn't put their homes on the market. We had less movability. We had a massive shortage of first-time buyer opportunities. It was a challenging market. And yet, when I look at the data tells me a couple things. First, you'd be shocked to hear that 49% of all real estate agents last year associated with NAR did 0 or 1 sale for the year. Now, I don't wish anybody ill will ever, but for the person that's thinking about getting their real estate license, there is a reason why more than 750,000 people did not do a transaction or did 1. It's because this isn't a business for them. This was, I'm going to get my real estate license. I'll sell a friend a couple houses. The market's hot. Well, you missed that opportunity. That opportunity is gone. Now, we are now in certainly the next 3 to 5 years, the year of the professional, the person that is committed to customer experience, committed to great service, becoming a great negotiator, becoming a great marketer. Now, with all that said, now that I talked to you potentially out of getting your license, what if I told you, being the now former co-owner of the America Best Agent list, the top 27,000 agents in the US, the top 1.5%, and the Wall Street Journal recognized top 1,000, when I look at the data, Blake, guess when the vast majority of them started their careers? Recession, depression, which is no different from, if you're a student of business, which I am, Apple, Facebook, Tesla, you can go right on down the line. Walt Disney started his company in the midst of, an economic calamity post the 29 stock market crash. Like there is just something to, if you're the kind of person, now I'm not making you wrong. If you just want to sell a house now and then, get your license, jump in, have it be your side hustle. But just understand the consumer awareness today is greater than it's ever been. And what NAR has put forth is new rules around buyer brokerage agreement, buyer agency. What does it mean if I'm going to represent you? What does that look like? What am I responsible for? What are you responsible for? So the rules have changed. But Blake, just like when hundreds of thousands of people went to AceableAgent to get their real estate license during the pandemic,
Yep.
the rules changed then too. We had to wear hazmat suits and you had to spray down every listing and you can only have one person in a house at a time for social distancing. The best people always pivot and adjust. So I guess what I'm saying is it could be the single greatest time to get your license and start your career if you're building a business and you care about customers and you want to do something special. Or if you just want to sell a house now and then, terrific. It's a low cost thing, but understand you're probably going to sell one or maybe two houses a year. And if that's enough for you, please just take care of your customers.
Love that. Love that. So as we consider the shift and the rule changes, bringing about more transparency, one could argue, to the industry, what skills and qualities do you believe will be most valuable for aspiring agents? And the aspiring agents, just to build on what you said, that want career agents.
What I would tell you at the end of the day is you sell air, right? Like you sell the dream of this house. You don't like physically say, this is the wall and this is yours, right? Like you're selling the concept of buying a home. You're selling the dream of the first time buyer or the first lakefront property or the first apartment building that they acquire, whatever it is, you're selling that. All of that requires sales skills and most importantly, the ability to negotiate, which means you're great at asking questions and you're great at listening to what people are saying and then providing a solution to whatever problem, concern, or objection they may be bringing up. So I don't know if you do book recommendations, but longtime friend of mine, Chris Voss, he's the sort of world famous, 2-decade long #1 negotiator for hostage situations for the FBI, wrote a wonderful book called Never Split the Difference. And I recommend it to everybody. I mean, if you're a brain surgeon, if you are, an Uber driver, if you're certainly going to be a real estate agent, you get paid in direct correlation to your ability to solve problems and negotiate the right solutions for your customers. So there's a fun fact. A mutual friend of ours, Stefan Swampole, who created that T360 company and, does a lot of rankings and consulting. He was quoted once, and I showed it at a seminar for a decade. It was basically like 96% of people that get into real estate come up with no sales, no negotiation, and no marketing skills. And then I would always put a comma and say, and most maintained it. So if I was coming into if I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 80s, it doesn't make a difference. The first thing I'm going to ask myself is, when was the last time I negotiated a contract? Could I go to ChatGPT-4 and say, act like Chris Voss and ask me 22 questions that would pertain to a negotiation in real estate, and practice and learn for free on ChatGPT-4 and get better, because those skills give you the confidence to then go out and build your practice and have discussions and meet with people and do open houses and all the other, sort of blocking and tackling requirements of real estate.
I love it. I've always said that Chris Voss book, it's actually a good marriage book too.
I agree.
Active listening takes you far.
Yes. Tactical empathy. Yes, dear.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yes.
So a crucial step in getting a real estate license and starting a career is finding the right brokerage.
Yes.
As you think about the shift, is there any advice you'd have for agents as they are evaluating brokerages that might be different today or this coming summer or September, different than maybe a year ago?
So I would bifurcate it before I even went there. And I would say, if you're really committed to this business, if this is going to be a career path, one of the fastest ways that you can accelerate your career is joining a team. Now, a team is different from joining a brokerage. A brokerage is a broker, owner, manager with a bunch of independent contractors that essentially have a license that they hang inside this brokerage. They use the company's brand, they use the company's training, contracts, resources, attorneys, et cetera. But the one thing that most companies don't provide, because it's not in their P&L to do so, is opportunities, is leads, is potential customers, where teams today, you and I both see the same data. You've got, 30,000 teams in the US in every nook and cranny of the country that they have leads, they have opportunities. Here's open houses to hold. Here is a first-time buyer. Here's a luxury buyer. I think of my son today, who this real estate license through Aceable, which makes me happy. My younger son, he's now selling real estate, first starting out in California, now is in Hoboken, New Jersey. And the team that he joined, literally he gets opportunities every single day to go show properties. Now, if I was committed to the real estate business and this was my career, I'd be asking myself, okay, I want to align myself with a great brand, a local presence with great leadership. And that means I'm going to interview teams and brokerages to figure out where do I, kind of what's the old line from Seth Godin, your vibe attracts your tribe. Like, where do I feel best? Is that with a super luxury brand like a Sotheby's or one of the hyper local luxury brands in your marketplace? Or, one of the big monster brands, Berkshire Hathaway and Remax and Keller and EXP and all these other companies, right? There's thousands of options. You got to go with a manager that you feel good about, that has the system in place that you feel good about. If you want to go independent and build your own career, if you want to start on a team, you narrow that down to tell me about the training, tell me about the onboarding, tell me about the success that most of your agents have. What are the rules? What are the guidelines? What are the things I need to know? Like, interview like you were going to work for them, not they're interviewing you. You're interviewing them to discover, is this where I want to be? So I think it really is one of those two paths, but you got to go in prepared to know about their business, to Google them, to look on Zillow, to look on realtor.com, to see what their profile is, see how many homes they sell. Then you can ask more interesting questions about how and how much and how many and how does it work? And, where do I fit in?
As you think, that's awesome. I love that. And I mean, it's transferable to so many different industries. With the change right now, I watched one of your videos when you're talking, really the audience seems like it was existing agents.
Yes.
And you, in that, just sort of like beat over the head. If you are waiting to make these changes, it's too late.
Right.
As a new agent, I mean, it's fair to say there should be an expectation when you start asking that broker, that team lead about what changes they're making in their business as a result of NAR. They're incredibly well versed.
1000%. Yes. Yes. Like, tell me how you did it. What were the adjustments you made? What adjustments did you make during the pandemic? How do you see the correlation between the two? Yep. Is this something more than just a contract change, a language change, and a process change, or is this a bigger deal? And dependent upon the company that you ask and the manager you ask, some people are going to go, hey, it's just that. And, we're going to continue to sell. Like, housing is always going to be in vogue. Home prices have been going up for 40 straight years on average, like 5 to 5.2%. Like, that's going to continue. People are going to continue to buy and sell real estate. By the way, here's a fun little fact. What if I told you I just did a study? Most people believe someone with an interest rate at 3.5% would never sell their home. But that also implies that no one's ever going to get a divorce, get a job transfer, decide it's time to make a move to a warmer climate, whatever it may be. We're seeing now 56% of the listings that are coming on the market just like that. So asking the broker, what's your opinion on, people with a 3% interest rate? What do you think is going to happen? Just see where they're at. Are they paying attention to the data or their emotion? And I would just say to you, always go with a company that's focusing on the data, because that's what the customer is actually doing, not the hallucination or fear that might be in our head.
Right. I think a lot of what you teach too is this mindset shift, but then also taking advantage of changes, inflection points in an industry. I think you talk about BlackBerry to iPhone, ditching your map for Google Maps. So,
yes.
This is both, we have change going on in the industry coupled with adversity. What opportunities for innovation do you see for agents right now in this moment, whether it's NAR related or maybe even bigger picture?
So I go back to my mentor, Jay Abraham. Every 18 months, you have to attack a new market. You've got to launch a new product. You've got to do something special for your customers. It's interesting when I look at our customer base broadly, just in the US, forget, we're in like 29 countries around the world. Those that are just keeping their eye squarely focused on serve your customer. What are the unique things I can do? What are the special things I can do? What are the surprise things I can do? What are the things that maybe a person that hasn't bought a house in a decade doesn't even know exist today? And how do I open that up? How do I show them that? Not in a look at what I've got, but like in a purely service manner. That's who's winning right now. People that are understanding that sales cycles have become longer. right? Where during the pandemic, hey, honey, let's sell. Cool. We sold in 3 days. We got $1 gazillion. Let's go buy the next one. And it was just the market was so frantic. Now people are slowing down and taking their time, which means we got to follow up and do things special all along the buyer journey to help that customer ultimately make the right decision. That's the stuff that people are focusing on. Beyond that, I would say the smart agents. And if you're a newer agent, if you're coming into the marketplace, consider this. There's a friend of mine who is pretty influential in the world of social. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk. In 2019, Blake, we were in Miami and we were doing an event together. And I brought a bunch of my top clients, and it was kind of a fun, like, where's the world of social media going? And his sister was there, his gal Liz. And, we're sitting at dinner at a friend of mine's restaurant, and he says, this is my sister Liz. She's just getting her license. I was like, oh, Liz, congratulations. Like, tell me what you're thinking about. Well, long story short, she becomes a client. She becomes wildly successful. And for the new person listening, consider this. She did two things. She immediately went into the marketplace and started on social media telling her story. She didn't come out and say, I'm an agent and I'm massive. She's like, I'm brand new and I'm learning and it's exciting. And I've raised my husband and I've raised my kids, and, I'm a former school teacher and now I'm committed to real estate. So I'm previewing property and I'm looking at the homes and I'm understanding the MLS. And she documented her journey. And you know what? She did really well doing that because people appreciated the honesty of it, not the, hey, look at my fancy headshot. I'm now a realtor, right? Like she was honest about it. But the second thing I told her to do, and this may be a little crazy for the person listening, is I said, we get paid in direct correlation to our ability to solve problems for customers. And there's a segment of the population that are home sellers that are always dealing with adversity. One is the for sale by owner, the person that tries to sell on their own, right? And we know the stats. After about 3 months, 91-ish days, they usually call the for sale by owner site and say, take it off, I'm listing with a real estate agent, right? That's the most typical scenario. And they end up, when they do sell, selling for on average 18% less than had they hired a professional. So that's an interesting stat that's out there, and they did it anyway, right? Like they thought that they could beat the odds. But the second group is people that put their home on the market, probably listed it too high, maybe didn't have the right terms, maybe the home wasn't as functional, needed to be fixed up, and the listing contract expires. So that's called an expired listing in real estate. So I had her survey and interview like 55 or 60 expireds and for sale by owners and just ask the question, why do you think the home didn't sell? And how did you select your real estate agent? Knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? Well, she was able to then build this sort of beautiful case study. So when her friends were at the, soccer match with their kids, oh my God, you're now selling real estate. How's the market? What's going on? Which is the question everybody gets. She was able to say, I recently sat down with 55 different people that put their home on the market in one of the single hottest markets we've ever seen in real estate, and the property didn't sell. And there was actually like 5 specific reasons why. And I'm just fascinated by it. Now the person's like, this is different, because I was just waiting for the sort of anecdotal, how's the market? The market's great. Oh my God, things are selling like crazy. And or today, right, interest rates are too high and it's stopping a lot of buyers. Instead, she had something interesting to share. Now, that was 5 years ago. Today, she's a very well-established agent in her marketplace. She's getting referrals. She's building this great business. She, again, raised her husband, raised her kids. Now she's building her business, having a ton of fun. But as a new agent, she was just honest about, hey, I'm going through this journey with you on social, all my friends, and I'm going to go find one of the biggest pain points in the industry and learn about it. So I've got something unique to bring to buyers and sellers. That was the hook.
Love that. Love that.